This chapter is all about geography, a bit of history, ancient history, and also about languages and races. Let's talk first about geography. The North Africa and the Mediterranean coastal cities. Carthage, a Phoenician port city, present-day Tunisia. By 600 BCE, Carthage was in control of the entire North African coast, from the Atlantic Ocean to the western border of Egypt, as well as Sardinia, Malta, the Balearic Islands, and part of Sicily. The Phoenicians were a Semitic-speaking race. Semitic. Now, going eastwards on the Mediterranean coast, we reached Egypt, a 7,000 years of non-interrupted civilization until today. Further east, we reach Sinai Peninsula, where Moses got the commandments and the laws. And then we come to Gaza and Palestine, Israel. Now we're going northerly direction on the Mediterranean, East Mediterranean coast. Lebanon, Syria. And then further north, there is Turkey, where Anatolia and Çatalhöyük, this very ancient, magnificent city, used to be. Now, from Turkey, we turn eastward again, and we hit Armenia, Urartu. Urartu is the old name of the Armenian city of the ancient Armenians used to live there. In Armenia, that's where the sources of the two major rivers, Tigris and Euphrates, starts. The Tigris and the Euphrates, both in Southwest Asia, rising in Armenia, now in the Turkey area. The Tigris River flowing to Iraq before emptying into the Persian Gulf. The Tigris and its historic partner, Euphrates River, contributed in the framing of the early Mesopotamian civilization. Now, Euphrates River, flowing through Syria and Iraq, before emptying in the Persian Gulf like the Tigris River, by the way of the Shatt al-Arab, the Euphrates, along with the Tigris, provided much of the waters that supported the development of ancient Mesopotamian culture. Mesopotamia literally means in between two rivers in Greek. Mezzo, between. In the Bible, the Euphrates is referred to in Genesis 15:18, Deuteronomy 1:7 and 11:24, and Joshua 1:4. Historically, the river is one of the most important in the world. The Tigris-Euphrates Valley was the birthplace of ancient civilizations of Assyria, Babylonia, and Sumer, or Sumer. Babylon and Ur, the cities of Babylon and Ur, were and along that area of the Tigris and Euphrates. Ur is where Abraham was born. Numerous towns and centers of art and literature flourished along its banks. Much historical data has been yielded by archaeological excavations on the banks of the Tigris and the Euphrates. The Tigris-Euphrates Valley is also referred to as the Fertile Crescent. That area is where Assyria was. Now, what is Assyria? What do we mean by Assyria? Assyria, ancient Ashur or Assur, ancient country of Asia, extending south from about the northern border of Iraq, to the east of Assyria lay the Zagros Mountains. To the north, terrace after terrace of the Armenian Massif, Urartu. To the south was the country known first as Sumer, then as Akkad, this very ancient city, and still later as Babylonia. The most important cities of Assyria, all situated in the territory of present-day Iraq, were Ashur, now called Sharkat, Nineveh, now the excavated mound of Kuyunchik, Sarah or Kala, now Nimrud, Ur, where Abraham was born, which is in Iraq, and very important name, Dur Shurakin, or today's Khorsabad in Iran. We are going to talk about Dur Shurakin and Khorsabad later. As early as the 7th millennium BC, the farmers of Assyria, of this land, cultivated, I will go through this very quickly, cultivated wheat and barley and owned cattle, sheep, goats, and pigs. They built their houses, some of which contained as many as 4 rooms of compact clay, used round ovens for baking with ground flour, and stored their grain in large covered clay jars. They wove textiles from threads spun with the help of spindle whorls. They made knives of obsidian and chert, a flint-like stone, and used axe-shaped implements made of stone as adzes and hoes. Their pottery was outstanding. Much of it was made of skillfully fired clay and painted with attractive patterns. Obsidian and other hard stones were worked into vases, beads, amulets, and stamp seals. Female figurines for ritual and religious purposes were modeled in clay. The dead, often buried in a flexed position with the knees drawn up to the chin, were interred among the houses rather than in cemeteries. All this is about Assyria, by the way. From the beginning of late Stone Age, remember we talked about late Stone Age, the Neolithic age, in the first chapters. About 10,000 years ago, people had lived in the land that came to be known as Assyria. A fact confirmed by 2 adult Neanderthal skulls. Remember we talked about Neanderthal fossils in anthropology before. Discovered in a cave. These skulls were discovered in a cave. Around 3000 BCE, Semitic nomads conquered the region. Semitic nomads conquered the region. Now, what is Semitic? Semites, term used for peoples cited in the Bible. See Genesis 10:21 to 32. As descendant from Shem. Who is Shem? The eldest son of the biblical patriarch Noah. Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Shem was the first one. That's why they call Semitic. The term Semitic has since come to mean a speaking of a Semitic language, not a race. Not a race. Ancient Semitic speaking peoples included the inhabitants of Aram, Babylonia, Canaan, including the Hebrews, and Phoenicia. Modern Semitic speakers are the Arabs and the Jews, particularly those in Israel. The original homeland of the Semites is not known. Waves of Semitic nomads successfully swept over the deserts westward into the Fertile Crescent, Mesopotamia. Semitic people have been credited with inventing the alphabet and also the 3 major monotheistic religions of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam developed in their midst. Jews and Arabs of today are Semites. They speak a Semitic language. In the 3rd millennium, now a bit of history of that Assyrian area, a bit of history. In the 3rd millennium BCE, Assyria, like most of the Middle East, came under the influence of the Sumerians, civilization to the south. A temple of this period, excavated in the city of Ashur, contained statues similar in styles and appearance to those found in the temples of Sumer. About 1810 BCE, an Assyrian king with the name of Shamshi-Adad I succeeded in extending the territory of Assyria from the Zagros Mountains to the east of Iraq to the Mediterranean Sea. The Shamshi-Adad may have been the first ruler to establish a centrally organized empire in the ancient Middle East. Shamshi-Adad's son, Ishme-Dagan I, was defeated about 1760 BCE by the Babylonian king Hammurabi. Remember Hammurabi, the one of the law. And Assyria became part of Babylonian Empire. The Babylonian Empire was also short-lived. Now there are many races that comes in this story. The Kassites, a non-Semitic people, invaded Babylonia in the 16th century BCE. Another non-Semitic mountain people, the Hurrians, infiltrated most of northern Mesopotamia till Palestine to the west. The Hurrians were conquered by an Indo-European people whose name is unknown. Now, about 1500 BCE, Assyria became a dependency of Mitanni, another race, another people, until it was defeated at the hands of the rising empire of the Hittites. Finally, the Assyrian king Ashur-uballit I freed Assyria from the Mitanni yoke. Now, Ashur-uballit the first was succeeded by Adad-nirari the first, then Shalmaneser the first, and Tukulti-Nihurta the first. They were successful in further extending Assyria's borders and keeping at bay their powerful neighbors, the Urartians, Armenians in other words, and the Hittites and the Babylonians. Beginning about 1200 BCE, now getting closer to modern times, a conglomeration of groups known as the Sea People put an end to the Hittite Empire in Anatolia and infiltrated Syria and Palestine. To the west of Assyria, a Semitic group of nomads known as the Arameans was also on the move. Arameans, another race, we talk about the Arameans. Ashur-nasir-pal II extended Assyrian rule to the north and east. His fierce and brutal campaigns devastated the lands on the borders of his empire, but he was prudent enough not to attack his more powerful neighbors, Urartu, Armenians to the north, Babylonians to the south, and Aram to the west. Aram, important name also of the city. Numerous inscribed monuments of Ashur-nasir-pal have been found in the ruins of Salah, making him one of the best documented rulers of the ancient Middle East.